Hey there, Gary Parrish. Welcome back. CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. The Eye on College Basketball Podcast is presented by Jersey Mike's, a sub above. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you watch it on YouTube, you know what to do to the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. I want to start in the SEC, where Georgia got a big win on multiple levels last night. Final score, Georgia 88, number 3 Florida 83. First and foremost, a big quadrant one win for a very bubbly Georgia team. At tip-off, they were just on the wrong side of Jerry Palm's bubble, so they needed a win like this, and they got it. Big victory. Secondly, the Q1 victory doubled as Mike White's first win over his former employer. He was 0 for 6 before last night. Now he's 1-6. Norlander, it was a good night to be a Georgia Bulldog. If you want to bark in celebration, now would be a perfect time to do it. And if Jerry Palm had 12 SEC schools in his projected field on Tuesday morning, does Georgia make it 13 when he updates following that victory over Florida?
Well, as you know, when I said off air yesterday, although I'm feeling a little bit better today, that sickness you were working through on the back end on Sunday's show, I started to get a little bit of it. I can work in a bar. You want me to work in a bark right now on a Wednesday morning?
I mean,
Bulldog bark sound like what?
I was merely presenting you with the opportunity.
Go Dogs! Go Dogs!
Not bad. That's not bad for a man who isn't from the South. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good Northeastern bark. I mean, that wouldn't do much. That's a little bit like you're a Northeastern 7, or Northeastern 10, but a SEC 7 type of thing.
Something like that.
Something like that. But I appreciated the effort. As someone who has impersonated a peacock, I appreciated your bulldog bark.
I gotta listen. I gotta step up the animal impressions, and to anyone that I just love the fact that any number of people from any walk of life are either watching now or listening to this 1 hour and a half after it hits the feed, 3 days after it hits the feed, and they had no idea that me barking like a dog was waiting for them at the top of the show. You're welcome / I'm sorry. Let's get into this result. It was almost an epic meltdown. Like, so bad, Mike White should have retired if Georgia lost this game. 26-point lead. It got up to 39-13. He does get a win over his former school for the first time, as you mentioned it. We'll get to Georgia's NCAA tournament situation as it stands here in just a second. But a critical regathering, 10-3 run, if you want to call it a run, to close out the game for Georgia. There was a great set action that got Blue Cane open, that he hit a 3, and oh man, it was like the program had been waiting months for that kind of shot to go down. Very, very, very significant win for Georgia's case. It had not beaten a top 3 team since 2004, when, sorry, Bees fans, 2004, number 3 Georgia Tech. It's been a minute, but that's the last time Georgia beat a top 3 team. That was a double OT win. Georgia had lost 17 straight games against top 3 opponents and 25 straight against top 5 opponents before taking out number 3 Florida on Tuesday night. It's their most points scored against a top 10 opponent, period, since 1994. Yeah, good vibes. And they had also, they won because they got out to this huge lead. They had 51 points in the first half on 68% shooting. They had not played that well against a ranked team in decades, certainly in the first 20 minutes of a game. So good on them. For Florida, you take a loss that you don't want to take, but they're still a projected 1 seed. It's on the road against a potential NCAA tournament team. So it is what it is. It goes how it goes. Georgia now has wins. Let's get into the tournament case here, because this is all about the Bulldogs. Last time we started a show on Georgia, by the way, has it ever happened? Maybe once in the pod's history, going back 10, 12, 13 years at this point?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's been a minute. They've got wins over St. John's, Florida, and Kentucky. Now, the Florida and Kentucky ones are at home, Parrish. They're lacking in-conference road accomplishments, and by that I mean
you're lacking in-conference road accomplishments.
So what?
You're lacking in-conference road accomplishments.
Well, so are you.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Let's not get testy over what Georgia hasn't done in SEC play. 6 minutes into the show. They've won at Georgia Tech.
They
Man,
just
Georgia
got the
Tech's taking
biggest
straight.
win in decades, and you're nitpicking them over their in-conference road accomplishment.
Well, maybe is it too much to ask, even in the best conference ever, if you can win one game on the road? Is it too much to ask?
I think it might be for Georgia.
Well, if it's too much to ask, then I'm not sure they're going to make the tournament. They've got 3 really good wins, and then outside of league play, their only road win is at Georgia Tech, which sits outside the top 100 as of right now. I would have them. I think I'd have them outside the field today narrowly, maybe by 1 or 2 spots, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get our answer on Georgia because it plays at Texas in a double bubble game on Saturday, and Texas is going to play here tonight. Texas got a huge week ahead of itself. Then it's at South Carolina. You can't lose the game, and then it's home to Vandy. So Georgia, go 2-1 in your next 3 entering the SEC tournament. You would definitely, in my estimation, 2-1 over the next 3. You would be in the field at that point entering the SEC tournament. I would avoid, if I was Georgia, I would avoid going 500 or worse between now and Selection Sunday. Be above 500 no matter how that breaks down, and I think you'll get in the field. I think I'd have them just barely out as of this morning.
That's a good call on that Texas-Georgia game because in Jerry's latest projected bracket, which was updated, I believe, Monday morning and should update again today. He had 12 SEC schools in, and then Texas and Georgia in the first 4 out. It's, I guess, debatable whether Georgia's win last night pushed them on the right side of the bubble. We'll wait for Jerry to weigh in on that. But if it did, that's 13. And then Texas right there still in the first 4 out, 14. I mean, basically, everybody other than LSU and South Carolina in the SEC are very reasonably in contention to make the NCAA tournament. So when you hear people say things like they could get 14, that's true. They could get 14. At this point, I bet I would settle on 13. I think the SEC is going to have 13 NCAA tournament bids, and that will set the record by 2. Where would you? I mean, we're just guessing, obviously, but it feels like we're going to land at 13.
Yeah, this is our poll question right now on the show. Nada, don't send it. Let's let more people pop into the live show and get some votes in. So I'll reveal it in 5 to 10 or 15 minutes, or I'll forget to do it like I do half the time we do this show. Regardless, the options are 11, 12, 13, or 14. When we get to Selection Sunday, how many bids do you think the SEC will wind up having there? I am sticking with what I said on like December 5th. I will stick with a record-setting 12. Over the past couple of weeks, Parrish, I have fluctuated on this in terms of, okay, you have these bubble teams that are just populating near the bottom: Arkansas, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Vandy was in there, but Vandy's not a lock, but Vandy's really comfortable at this point. 14 is just not going to happen. There's going to be, whether it's Georgia and or Oklahoma and or Texas, one team's going to lose its way out of this thing. They're not going to get to 14. I know that's an option on the poll. I put it there because, if those teams really got hot and did it, then it's on the table. I just can't see that. 13 is very, very possible in my opinion. I will stick with 12. But I'm like 55-45 confidence meter. I think 13 is now on the table as a result of Georgia getting there was no game, and we're going to cover everything from Tuesday here that was of note. To me, there was no game that had higher leverage attached to it than Florida at Georgia because of the boost to Georgia's tournament case in the process. Some other teams took some damaging losses. Some teams got some really nice wins, but no game carried more value swinging one way or the other, in my opinion, than Georgia getting a win over UF. And
do you think that pushes Florida off of the one line, just at least temporarily?
First of all,
I'm still dealing with the same virus.
Don't you go dying on me. I thought you were better. I thought I was taking it on now.
I'm not better. I was literally drinking Dayquil, severe Dayquil, out of the bottle last night in studio. And people were looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, well, what's crazier? Coating my throat with severe Dayquil or going out there and coughing during a West Virginia highlight? How you want me to talk about Javon Small if I can't even get through a sentence? So I might have to take a pull here in a second.
And also, hey, buddy, in all seriousness, if you gotta take a pull, literally, I think for the betterment of the visual element of this podcast, I want you taking pulls multiple times. And if you gotta bail out, just let me know. Your question is about Florida. I still think Florida's on. Oh man, I'm looking right now. Okay, still number 2 in strength of record. It's 5 and wins above bubble. See Tennessee. I talked to you about Tennessee on Sunday. Quad 1, Florida's 5-4. Tennessee's 9-5. Florida's 14-4 top two quadrants. Tennessee's 13-5. They're both a combined 10-0 in the back end, low ends of the schedule with Q3, Q4. Instinct told me before you brought this up that Florida would still be on the one line, but let me just, for our listeners' sake here, look at Florida's losses at Kentucky, home to Mizzou, at Tennessee, at Georgia. Tennessee has the one and obviously they split because they had the two drastically different. So the teams have split. Tennessee's losses are at Vandy, at Auburn, home Kentucky, swept by Kentucky, at Florida. It's a toss-up. Tennessee in the non-con, Baylor, Virginia, at Louisville is actually a pretty good one. Florida's non-cons of note: neutral over Wake, home to Virginia, Arizona State, Carolina, and Charlotte. Florida has one fewer loss. I would give Florida the slight edge, but it's really tight.
Right now, I would have the 1 seeds: Auburn, Duke, Houston, Alabama. That's the top 4 in the top 25-1 as of Wednesday morning. I slid Florida down to number 7. So I've got it right now: Auburn, Duke, Houston, Alabama, Tennessee at 5, Michigan State at 6, Florida at 7, St. John's at 8. Obviously, that's subjective and could change, particularly with these SEC schools, whether you're talking about potential 1 seeds or, bubble teams. Like, you're always just like a win away from jumping back to where you were or jumping up to where you want to be, because there's, I don't want to say countless because you can't count them, but a lot of opportunities to get signature wins and big wins and needle moving wins. And obviously Georgia got one last night. Florida took not a bad loss, but a loss that might cost them given what some of the other 1 seed possibilities are doing, but they'll have an opportunity to bounce back real quick. Again, tons of quad 1 opportunities in front of them, including whatever they'll get in the SEC tournament. Let's stay in the SEC for a second before we bounce around a little bit, because there were some other interesting results. One of them involved Alabama scoring 111 points on Mississippi State, which, I mean, if I told you, hey, Norlander, for the next 3 years, yes or no, somebody will score 111 on a Chris Jans coach team, would you have said
no? One. You're not saying 92. You're not even saying like 101. 111.
Yes,
111. Uno on Jans. Now, this Mississippi State team isn't as good defensively as the ones a season ago and the one before that. It's just not. And it's been in exchange for a little bit better of an offense, but that's still alarming. And even with Bama getting the game on its home floor, I think I don't have this in my notes here. I think this is 7. Is this 7 or 8 games for Bama to cross the century mark? It's just number 1 offense in the sport, and I thought a very inspiring level kind of win for the Tide to get this. Just they blew them out, and why Bama's on the list of reasonable national title contenders is a game like this where they just they go up against a quality tournament team that's going to be wearing home whites in the first round, and it's just not a game. They treat them like a JV squad.
22 of 45 from 3. They took 45 threes in 40 minutes, made 22 of them. Chris Youngblood was 7 of 11 from beyond the arc. Mark Sears, 5 of 12. So, longtime Alabama columnist Kevin Skarbinski tweeted, I saw last night, who is better than Alabama when Alabama is at its best?
Auburn.
And maybe.
If we're going teams at their best, and again, I picked Alabama preseason number 1. Auburn and Duke are better than Alabama if all 3 of those teams are playing at their maximum capacity, in my opinion.
I agree with you. But if Alabama goes 22 of 45 from 3 against any one of them, well, okay, but that might be Alabama at its best. That's the thing about their style of play. Their best might bury you, even if you're better than them, because they're going to take 45 threes on you. Yeah, that's the scary thing about them. You can be better than them, actually play well, and if they do that to you, you're done. You can't survive 22 of 45.
It's really, really hard to do. Bama is the number 3 per possession offense in the country. Auburn is number 1, but Auburn isn't nearly as prominent at shooting the 3. They're efficient in other ways there. I can't wait for the rematch. That's next weekend, not this upcoming one, but a big one for Alabama. And yes, they have the capacity to do it, and especially if they get the kind of draw, we'll see where they wind up. 1 or 2 seed. They've got Bama's gonna finish up here. I thought winning last night was actually important because they're at Tennessee, home Florida, at Auburn. I mean, they've had talked about it on the show. I wrote about it in the court report. No team had statistically, by record, by winning percentage, a tougher final 5 games of the season than Alabama. They've gotten through the first 2 at home. They beat Kentucky. They beat Mississippi State. Now 2 of the next 3 are on the road, and all of those teams could be 1 seeds: Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. So go 2-1 in that stretch. If you can pull it out somehow, some way, 2-1 going into the SEC tournament, Bama might lock up its 1 seed credentials and might not even need to win a game in the SEC tournament if it can go 2-1. But that's 3 huge challenges. Those are all top 5 KenPom teams.
Tennessee, 65, LSU 59. Nothing real notable there. It's just the Vols avoided what would have been a tough loss. The Kai Ziegler got 17 points, 2 steals. As I told you, I've got Tennessee right now 5th at the top 25 and 1. One more game. I'm doing my best.
I go get it now. Go get it. I'm going to read this result. It's not even worth talking about. Missouri was able to handle South Carolina. Tigers, they bounced back. They look good. Our bud Dennis Dodd was in the house last night. I know that as well. Great to see him out there. 101-71 for Dennis Gates' program. Now 21-7, has won 10 games in the league after not winning a single one last season, which marks a very rare thing for a team to go winless in the league 1 year and then get double-digit wins in its league the subsequent season. Very, very few teams have ever been able to do that. So Mizzou continues its push toward. Don't know if they're going to get there, but Missouri is obviously trying to work toward a top 4 seed. Doesn't mess around against the worst team in the SEC.
What I was trying to tell you is that yesterday we had it was a rare day in college basketball because we had 4 top 25 teams win conference games by at least 30 points. Ooh. Missouri was a part of that. Alabama was a part of that. Duke was a part of that. And it's the first time that we had 4 top 25 teams win conference games by at least 30 points since 2007. That is courtesy of Brent Stover, host for CBS Sports Network.
You mean to tell me Stover did the research on that one?
He told me he did. He asked if I would credit him on the podcast, and I said, "Sure. What do I care?"
All right, Stover. Great nugget. Well, we'll take a Stover nugget every so often.
It was a Stover nugget. He said this is yesterday, February 25th, 2025. First time 4 top 25 teams have won conference games by at least 30 points on the same day since the year 2007. That's courtesy of Brent Stover, CBS Sports host and researcher. All right, hey, you ready to play Stay or Hit? Brought to you by Chumba Casino.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. We about to play it. But first, let's get a word from our partners.
Who's in? Who's out? Let the madness begin. The NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Selection Show on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, now it's time for the Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. Whether you're chilling at home or on the move, play for the chance to redeem some serious prizes with Chumba Casino. Norlander, today we're playing Stay or Hit SEC teams not named Auburn.
Okay.
You following me here? It's SEC teams, but we're not going to include Auburn because we're going to respect Auburn and put them a level above everybody else.
Okay, so sounds good to me.
It's the Stay or Hit segment. SEC teams not named Auburn. We're going to start with Tennessee. Norlander, can you see the Vols this season making their first Final Four in history? If so, why? If not, why? This is what we call a setup question.
Yes, I understand. Tennessee is 23-5. It's the number 1 defense in the country, and it has 2 of the most reliable guard wings in the country that have, for the most part, stepped up and played well against some of the best competition. Zakai Ziegler, ever-present defensive menace, team leader. Him and Chaz Lanier. And Lanier had, 30? We mentioned on the Sunday show. He's coming off a game with... We had 30 against A&M. Yeah, he had 30 against A&M, and then last night he had 14. Those 2 combined with the defense, yes. The question was the Final Four? Unquestionable.
Can they get there for the first time in school history? All right, so now let's play Stay or Hit. SEC teams not named Auburn. Think of it this way, Norlander. Without knowing any seed or any matchup, which team do you trust more to advance further in the NCAA tournament? Do you want to stay on Tennessee or hit? And I can give you Dennis Gates in Missouri.
I'll stay.
Okay.
I think about it for a second. I feel like Mizzou is they're better than a Final Four dark horse. They're too good. But maybe they're not being discussed significantly or seriously enough for their capacity to win 4. But I would take Tennessee.
Okay. Do you want to stay on Tennessee or you can hit? And I can give you Buzz Williams in Texas A&M.
I'll stay.
No
Oh
hesitation.
wow, you didn't even think.
Nope. No
There was no hesitation.
Yep.
That is disrespectful to all of the Wade Taylors, all 4 of them.
I'll do it again.
I'll stay.
You have disrespected 4 Wade Taylors at
You know what?
once.
I'm gonna do it one more time.
I'll stay.
We'll do it one more time to make it 4
I'll stay.
There we
for
go.
all the Wade Taylors. That is very disrespectful to all the Wade Taylors. That's incredible. All right. You want to stay on Tennessee, or you can hit and you can get Todd Golden in Florida.
Oh.
I suggest you hit, sir.
I would
Oh,
go
wow.
Florida
Oh, wow.
over Tennessee to be the more likely team to have the deeper run in the tournament. Again, narrowly.
That was the Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. Yeah, I
Where's
guess so.
Bama? Where's Bama?
Okay, I skipped them. Damn it. All right. They were up there right behind Buzz Williams, but I got when you disrespected all those Wade Taylors, I lost track of what I was doing. You can't come on here 10:22 Eastern and disrespect 4 Wade Taylors at once.
I mean, I can and I did.
Okay. One more then. Do you want to stay with Todd Golden in Florida?
Okay.
Or you can hit, and I can give you Nate Oates, the Alabama Crimson Tide, in a roster that
sir.
that went 22 of 45 from 3 last night.
Suggest you hit, sir.
Yeah, it's
You want Alabama.
Yeah, it's got to be Alabama.
So you were loyal to, let me just make sure I got this right. You were loyal to Rick Barnes up until Todd Golden walked into the room. And then you were loyal to Todd Golden right up until Nate Oates walked into the room.
Yep, that's right. That was stay or hit. Can you hit some of that Dayquil Severe, by the way?
I think I'm good now.
You
And here's the thing. There's a balance to this stuff.
Oh, it's there. Then
Yes.
how about we tip that balance for the betterment of the show?
You have to. I know I've done that before. It's not. You get a little loopy. There was one time I was doing radio like 15 years ago, and I was doing the same thing. And by the end of the show, I sat there for 45 minutes because I didn't feel comfortable driving. I thought I'd maybe got a little loopy. So you got to be careful with this stuff. This is not for play. This is not for play.
Okay.
You take enough to coat your throat, but not enough to where you get loopy. I have a lot of talking to do today.
It's the purple drink, right? That's what that's you know.
Down in
reference.
Memphis, we call this scissorp. Down in Memphis, we would call it scissorp.
Okay.
Down in Memphis, they might say I'm sipping, if you know what I mean.
I do now.
Okay.
Let's keep it moving.
That was the Stay or Hit segment brought to you by Chumba Casino. I can't believe they're paying for this. Ready to dive into some excitement? Chumba Casino is where it's at. It's free to play, so just jump right in and explore over hundreds of social casino-style games with fresh new releases every week. Play anytime, anywhere, and enjoy free daily login bonuses and an amazing welcome offer. Okay, you ready for the Wednesday whip around?
Let's do it.
Can we start it in the ACC? Duke and Louisville both won again. Serious question, kind of. Duke is running through the ACC.
Yes, it is.
Everybody understands that. Duke is number 1 in some predictive metrics, headed for a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Do most basketball fans understand that though Duke is running through the ACC, the Blue Devils aren't actually running away with the ACC? It's still a tight conference race. While Houston's already secured a Big 12 title and St. John's about to get a Big East title tonight, Duke is still very much in a conference race, in part because most, or at least half of the ACC is, mediocre, and nobody is a threat, it appears, in any real way to Duke, Clemson, or Louisville at the top of the ACC. I see what you're doing there, Matt Kelsey.
Right. I am Matt Kelsey. Exactly who I am. I'm Matt Kelsey. That's right. Louisville.
Yes.
You guys unaware? This team right now, it's 15-2 in the ACC. 22-6. Took out Virginia Tech. If you're not watching, well, you're gonna have to go to the YouTube channel and get a look at Matt Kelsey here. Dude, they have one loss since December 14th. Louisville finishes its home schedule with Pitt, Cal, and Stanford. I got to be honest, as Matt Kelsey, the coach of this program,
Right.
I'm really excited about the fact that we get to end the season at home with 3 in a row against Pitt, Cal, and Stanford. Going to go 18-2.
That does sound fun.
Oh, I'm thrilled about it. Yeah, this was actually I wasn't hyper aware of this. It was coincidentally yesterday. It was brought up to me. I was talking to an ACC coach and just getting into the league race and all that stuff. And they were saying like, Louisville and Clemson, like they still they're still within reach of Duke. They're probably not going to get them, but Duke's only got a 1-game lead on both of them. Duke is 16-1 in the ACC. Louisville and Clemson both have 2 losses at present there. So yes, I'm aware of what's going on, as you can tell by wearing these glasses.
Sure.
Very, very aware. And yeah, if you're wondering why the hell I'm wearing these programs, did you get them, by the way? It might be when you go home. I think you're going to have them because I know a couple other writers. So what'll happen, like schools that have a Heisman candidate or a National Player of the Year candidate, they will send media members just propaganda. And so the revival is real. The revival is real. And they've got like all this stuff about Kelsey and all this kind of stuff. And then they had these special glasses. I mean, Louisville, they got Kelsey's signature on the, why the hell not? Every time Louisville does something good, I'm rocking these on the show. I'm going Matt Kelsey. And
I keep getting emails.
My wife is so hot, by the way. I have to say that.
Okay. Yeah. And how your kids doing?
They're actually, one of them has pink eye in his home right now. Yeah.
You ain't no Kelsey.
Watching a little Planet Earth downstairs, got the pink eye situation. So the other one's doing well. Older one's at school. Younger one, he got the day off.
You ain't no Kelsey. You ain't no Kelsey with those unhealthy kids.
It's true.
You know how you get pink eye, right?
I'm aware.
Woo. Y'all talked about that?
It can happen in a variety of ways, but yes,
that's what they always say.
I know.
That's what they always say. I don't know if I have my Pat Kelsey glasses at home. I hope I do. I've reached a point where
you are wearing Pat Kelsey glasses. Let's be clear.
I know I am Pat Kelsey. I'm Pat Kelsey if he wanted to be Mick Cronin.
Yes, exactly.
I'm Pat Kelsey if he wanted to dress up as Mick Cronin for Halloween. That's what I am. Right. Do you know how many times I've seen the Statue of Liberty this year?
Oh, God, you're furious.
Do you know how many times I've seen the Statue of Liberty this year? I did see it just the other day when I was flying in. It's so tiny. It's just little bitty. I've reached the point where I get an email every few days. I'm so fortunate. I get an email every few days and somebody's like, hey, GP, just wanted to check and see if you got that thing we mailed you. And I'm like, bro, I ain't been home. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to get home and I'm going to open all my gifts like it's Christmas. I can't wait. But I hope one of the gifts I open is those glasses. And if so, I will combine them with my old Metro Conference shirt. And every time Louisville does something great, we'll celebrate accordingly.
Love it. Duke, real quick, there actually is a news peg to this. As I transition back to Matt from Matt Kelsey.
You're like Clark Kent.
Correct.
You just take the glasses off and you're a different person.
You can't tell. And no, it's impossible. Who am I? No one knows.
Lois Lane would just look at him like
most ridiculous conceit ever in the history of superheroes. No, this guy's like super jacked, but he throws on a pair of glasses and does his hair and no one knows who it is. This guy's world famous, can fly around the world in 17 seconds, but no one knows who this guy is. It's unbelievable. It's outrageous. Man, I've had an issue with this for decades. Whatever.
Man, if we'd have had Twitter and Reddit back then, they would have solved Superman in 7 seconds.
Correct. Reddit ends the mystery once and for all. Anyway, let's keep it moving. We are on a time crunch. GP does have another show to get through. Duke won, but Tyrese Proctor left the game with knee injury. He's going to get imaging today. We don't know this. Maybe it's nothing. Hopefully it's nothing, but they don't have Malik Brown for the next couple of weeks. And Proctor is a very, very key. Obviously he's a key player, but like what he does for them defensively as well. So we wait and see that. Frankly, that's, from a staff standpoint, from a fan standpoint, like you play a team, you're going to rout them. They're a terrible team. The game is almost a nothing game. And you just hope that you can get through 40 minutes and not lose a player to injury. And Duke couldn't get out of Miami with that otherwise. So we wait and see on that, but hopefully he's okay. If not, like, who knows how bad it is or isn't, but not having Brown and Proctor actually drops Duke's ceiling, like to the conversation we were having a few minutes back. Like if you tell me that Duke doesn't have Proctor and Brown, then yes, Alabama at its best would be Duke at its best. I think those two players carry that much value there. So we wait and see. Hopefully we'll get an update by the end of Wednesday. If not, I would think Thursday is when we're going to have that news.
I'm glad you brought up Proctor, because we're waiting to see how serious or not serious this is. But secondly, we haven't spent much time talking about him this season, which might not be fair because we have spent a lot of time talking about him in previous seasons when he was disappointing. He's been good this season. He's been good and important. And I'm not comparing apples to apples here, but like if Duke goes and wins a national championship, yes, it'll be largely because of the freshmen, largely because of Cooper Flagg, the same way, last time Duke won a national championship, it was largely because of the freshmen. But like Quinn Cook mattered on that team as a non-freshman, and Tyrese Proctor matters on this team as a non-freshman. You hope they get good news when the imaging comes back.
Agreed. What conference we want to go to next? Big 12?
Yeah, let's go to the Big 12. Iowa State lost at Oklahoma State. Cincinnati beat Baylor. On the Cyclones, it's just, they're banged up. They've been battling the same type of viruses, illnesses. Iowa State and Illinois are similar in the sense that I think they're good when they're healthy and everybody feels okay. But it's been a minute since either one of those teams have been healthy and feeling okay, and it's taken a toll on their record.
Yeah, no, ISU, barring it running the table, I think it played itself off the 2 line because of this loss. So, win out to the Big 12 title game, then maybe you can get back in there. ISU was 4-5 in its last 9. Now, it didn't have Keyshawn Gilbert in this game. It got Curtis Jones back. Right. He came off the bench. That's obviously notable. But Oklahoma State entered the night, sub 100 at KenPom. It was a sub 500 team. And Iowa State has not, so they're 4-5 in the past 9. The 4 wins are UCF, Cincy, Colorado, TCU. There's not a projected tournament team in that group. And we'll get to Cincinnati in just a second here. But so the 4 wins haven't come against good competition. Altenberger's team hasn't beaten a projected tournament team since January 15th. We're going on 6 weeks now. So still a quality team, and I think that it can get on the right track here. But it is worth noting that it's now been well over a month since that team has been able to experience a victory of real tangible value. So just keep an eye on it. You got to get Gilbert back. But yeah, it's a little bit of slippage here. And if you're curious on the schedule forthcoming, I got it for you for the Clones, which are at number 12 now in KenPom. They're home to Arizona, home to BYU, at Kansas State. Okay. I mean, they can win all 3 of those, by the way. They can definitely win all 3. I think Iowa State fans would take a deal at 2-1 right there, right then.
Here's what I would say on Iowa State. For the better part of 2 straight seasons with a very similar core, when healthy and not in need of severe Dayquil, that's been one of the top 10 teams in America.
Yes.
It just has been. I'm going to believe that's what they are. Regardless of what's happening right now, get the roster healthy, get the roster feeling better. And I believe that's one of the 10 best teams in the country.
Yeah, get it back together, see what we can do. I'm going to say Iowa State winds up being a 3 seed. Cincinnati, Baylor. I'll take the Cincy side. You take the Baylor side. Bearcats get a win. Dylan Mitchell, 13 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Jizzle James had 18 points. I'd spoken with Wes Miller a few days ago, just kind of checking in, see how all was doing. And, he said, it hasn't been what we thought it would be, but, we still got some in us. That's going to be coming. But he had mentioned, I just need a guy to really want to step up and be the guy. He said he's coached for a while, and he's coached for well over a decade, and hadn't had a team that at this point in the season, in terms of be it either in a huddle or just proving it on the stat sheet, that lacked the absolute go-to, give me the ball. Maybe it's going to be Jizzle. I think that's who the coaching staff thinks it should be. He had 18. I thought this was big. Cincinnati is not in the field yet, obviously. All of its metrics as of today are between 37 and 57 overall in the 7 team sheet metrics. It's 1-9 in quad 1, 8-2 in quad 2, so that's better. But its best wins came last night and then a home win over Xavier. They just need more. It wraps with at Houston, home to K-State, at Oklahoma State. A mandatory 2-1 over the next 3 going into the Big 12 tournament if you want to have a tournament case just going in. More work to do, but a critical win for the Bearcats there. You can take Baylor, but I will just say this. Jeremy Roach came off the bench at 8 points, 2 assists in 25 minutes. That's just not going the way anyone thought. And it's more than just that, but he is – I really did think that by leaving Duke and going to Baylor, he would have a late college career mini renaissance and become one of the 10 to 15 most valuable guards in the country. Just has not been it whatsoever. And now Baylor is really slipping dangerously close to that cut line.
Yeah, Baylor's been one of those teams that all year long, they haven't been great enough for us to really focus on them. Haven't been bad enough for us to really focus on them. Just sort of hanging out in that 8-9 range in terms of seeding. But now they've lost 3 straight, and the schedule lightens up a little bit now. The next game, Oklahoma State on Saturday. That's at home. Then they go to TCU. They got to close with Houston. That's obviously difficult regardless of where you play that. But last 3 regular season games, 2 are at home and 2 are against unranked opponents that you should be able to handle. So maybe they can get some momentum heading into the Big 12 tournament. On Cincinnati, it's interesting. They had 1 quadrant 1 win this time yesterday. And Wally Zerbiak actually called this out in studio last night. I love that I've gotten Wally to a point where he's like actually looking at numbers and talking about these things, because for years he just goofs on me for doing it, and now I'm pulling him. He ain't right with me yet, but I'm pulling him.
You did to him what I did to you. Never forget. There was a time on this podcast where GP. I know this sounds impossible to people listening. I promise you it happened. This dude used to clown on KenPom rankings, but now look. I don't think that's true. I can't. Hey, listen. Me to you, you to me. Love you. Mm-hmm. You absolutely did. Like first
I'm
year
gonna plead not guilty.
Okay.
I'm going to plead not guilty.
Lucky to you, those episodes are in the ether, never to be found.
Oh, buddy.
He used to be like, oh, look at this guy. Look at this nerd with his numbers and his KenPom rankings. I'm pretty flash cut to 9 years later.
Everything I said before I was 35, I'm glad it doesn't exist anymore. I don't need anything out there I ever said before I was 35 years old. I don't think you know how they say like at 18, you're 21, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
For me, it was like 35, 36. Okay. And still, like, this is the best I can do even at this age. But like, buddy, pre-35, it was tough out there for me. It was. So here's the deal. They had 1 quadrant 1 win yesterday. And so we're all on TV, like, and now they pick up another quadrant 1 win. And Wally said, not so fast, my friend. Are you playing that music?
No, I don't hear music.
Oh, well, I don't know what just happened, but is
it your phone? You got AirPods on.
I just got some wild music in my ears.
I got this music for you. I can give you that. I got nothing.
Or maybe this Dayquil's kicking in. One of the two. I don't know. Either way, Wally said, hold up. Are they really going to have 2 quadrant 1 wins when this updates? Because Baylor could slip out of the top 30. I said, look at you. I walked over. I gave him a hug. I was so proud of him.
You probably gave him this virus you got while in the process, by the way. Way to go.
Yeah, and so if you're wondering why Wally's not going to be on the Knicks broadcast, it's because he's now suffering from flu-like symptoms as well. And sure enough, Baylor slips down to 31. Not a big deal, but if you're technically speaking, right now Cincinnati only still has 1 quadrant 1 win, and that's because Baylor slipped out of the top 30 last night.
Fair enough. Let's move out to what was on CBS Sports Network late. Gonzaga wins at Santa Clara. They pull away in the process, and we dedicated time to the Zags in advance of this game on our Tuesday episode. If you haven't gotten to it, we touch on plenty of goodies there. So be sure you get over there if you have not listened or watched it just yet. But GU is now 22-8. They win 95-76 in going away fashion. Impressive game because Santa Clara, I think it hit its first 8 threes of the night. It wound up shooting 11 of 25, regressed to the mean in the second half of that game. Gonzaga just 6 of 22 from deep, but got it done super efficient. 74% shooting inside the arc, and a nice win for Gonzaga. Keep itself in the field. It's got the next game to close out the regular season on Saturday against San Francisco. We'll talk about that on our Friday preview show. So by the nature of the win, what I mentioned yesterday remains true. Only twice ever has Mark Few suffered a regular season sweep. And it's St. Mary's which happened this season. And then the 15-16 season, Santa Clara had the opportunity to do that. Couldn't get it done. I wanted to bring up Ryan Nembhard real quick though. And apologies GP, but once this game was mathematically final, I was tapped out. So if you talked about this on Inside College Basketball late, apologies. I didn't get to watch that segment. Nembhard had 15 assists in this game. Right. He set the single season record in the WCC for most assists. He's averaging 9.8. He leads the nation in assists average. He's more than an assist per game better than Braden Smith, who until recently had been playing really, really well, like a first team All-American. Nembhard is at 833 for his career. Which got me thinking, like, can he get to 900? He can't. Like, Gonzaga would need to make a Final Four run to have that be somewhat realistically possible. He would, because Gonzaga will probably play anywhere from 4 to 6 more games this season, and he would need to average more than 13 assists per game. So he's not gonna do it. There are 15 guys that have hit the 900 dimes mark for their career in men's D1. Nembhard will come up short of that, but he's going to be top 20 all time in men's D1, if not top 15 in career assists. And that's pretty cool. He's at 9.8 right now. If you're curious on the last guy to average at least 10, it was just 2 seasons ago. St. Louis, Yuri Collins, he was at 10 flat. And prior to that, it was John Morant, who averaged 10.0 assists in 2018-19, but a really, really good player. And, has been, him and Ike have been, on balance overall, they've been really solid this season. Gonzaga's just been an up and down team, but I wanted to give Nembhard some shine because he is really, he has become a distribution dynamo over the past 2 months, and he may well be the key if Gonzaga's going to get into the tournament and somehow try and keep that Sweet 16 streak alive. GP, like, he's going to have to be the guy. So good on him. I love a guy that loves dishing out assists, racking up high numbers. I'm not going to say it's a lost art, but we just don't have it the way that I felt like we did throughout the 80s and 90s growing up watching ball at the college and NBA level. And Nembhard's really tapping into something that, who knows, could well, just like his brother, get him on an NBA deal not so long from now.
Like, it happened while most of America was asleep. It would not have been a humiliating loss. Santa Clara is good. Santa Clara can bomb on you, and they did it in the first half. But that's a nice win to get for the Zags, if only because it just changes the conversation. Like if they would have lost, we might have led with that. We might have talked about it 40 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And been saying, so are they going to miss the tournament for the first time since 98? Is the Sweet 16 streak in jeopardy? It took us 40 minutes to get to it. That's how big of a win that was. We didn't have to focus on it. And I imagine, as always, we'll see, but I imagine that's the type of win that's going to they'll now I would assume handle San Francisco in the regular season finale and meet St. Mary's in the title game of the WCC tournament, and we will maybe not talk again this season about the Zags missing the NCAA tournament.
We shall see. One more out west. San Diego State beat New Mexico. SDSU got that game at home. It was 73-65. That's a really good result for the Mountain West, which is not locked up a 3-bid situation. I just think it's inevitably headed toward that. Utah State's in, New Mexico is in, and then San Diego State, as of this morning, it's definitely got to be in. All of its predictives, they're in near that cut line area, if not a little bit worse, but the resume stuff is between 34 and 41. They have wins over UC San Diego, Creighton, Houston, and now New Mexico. Like, San Diego State is a tournament team as of this morning. There's no argument against it. Just avoid the bottom falling out, and you're going to be good to go there. So that was a nice win for them. Lobos and Utah State, by the way, are now tied atop the Mountain West, both 14-3. I watched a lot of this game as well, and New Mexico was bad from the floor in shooting. Dent was okay, but everyone else was just not productive whatsoever. That's a credit to San Diego State, and so we'll see what the Mountain West does moving forward. Boise State's, like, if it's not in the on-deck circle, it's just out there. Like, it's probably in that 4 to 7 range of teams that are just out of the field at the moment. They gotta close out strong. And then Colorado State's actually second in the league standings, but it's further behind in the tournament picture. Colorado State's going to need to, like, peel off 5 in a row to build an at-large resume. Maybe that's the kind of team that can go and win the auto bid and be a bid thief. We'll see. But I do like the Mountain West chances of at least getting 50% of its inventory from a year ago when it set the league record with 6 bids overall.
Real quick before we get out of here, I do want to look ahead to the next 2 nights. So let's do that in a second. But first, let's get one more word from our partners.
Find our way back home.
All right, looking ahead to the next 2 nights. Tonight, we got a triple header on CBS Sports Network. I'm going to be in studio all night with Brandon Baylor, Roy Hibbert, Ice Young. Inside College Basketball will conclude the night before that, 7 Eastern, Dayton at Rhode Island, 9 o'clock Eastern, number 7 St. John's at Butler, 11 o'clock Eastern, San Francisco at Oregon State. We could have history made on CBS Sports Network tonight. The Johnnies should secure a share of the Big East title for the first time since 1992. That's That's going to be the biggest story of the night, isn't it?
It will be a very
Jesus. Just say yes.
yes.
Okay.
So I apologize for when you set me up on something as a way to just keep the conversation moving, and I earnestly take it in and think about whether it's true or not.
Just say yes.
My apologies.
Agree with
and
me.
enter into a real dialogue. Yeah, you know what? CBS Sports Network is going to have the biggest story of the night.
That's right. That's right. Elsewhere around the country, though, there is some other stuff happening. Number 8 Michigan State is at number 16 Maryland.
That's a biggie, GP. Come on now. That's a biggie.
It's not bigger than Rick Pitino bringing a Big East title back to New York City.
Sure.
You're not a New Yorker like I am, so you don't feel this the way I do. You don't feel this the way I feel this. You don't live in Midtown Manhattan like I do.
I do. I do not live in Midtown Manhattan the way that you do. That is correct. However, Michigan State, Maryland, top 15 level matchup. Terps, Derek Queen, Jacoby Gillespie, Julian Reese and the Crab Five welcoming in Michigan State. I was at this matchup 5 years ago. It was Leap Day of 2020. It was the last basketball event I covered before the world changed forever.
That was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was something. Worst pandemic of my lifetime. I don't know about yours.
Mine too. Mine definitely.
But what's interesting is 5 years on, both those teams in 2020 were capable of making the Final Four. They were really, really quality teams. Well, guess what? That's the case here as well. Michigan State is in a tie atop the Big Ten right now with Michigan. Both teams are 13-5. Maryland is, 13-3. Maryland is 11-5. So probably not going to win the Big Ten regular season. It would need to run the table and get some help there, but you can get one game behind Michigan State if you can win this one here. 6:30 tip, which frankly, I appreciate the staggered tips because games run long as is, and it allows for some ease in viewing overall. So that's a biggie in College Park, and I had the thing on Queen last week. Interested to see how Michigan State attacks them, how much they try and get into him. Remember, he can bring the ball up the floor, really good distribution. Almost feel like Juju Reese is in for a big game here on Wednesday night. But that's I jumped you here, but I wanted to get a little bit of words on that one because I'm really looking forward to that matchup. Also, number 17 Kentucky at Oklahoma Thursday night. Only 2 ranked teams are in action. Rutgers at number 15 Michigan. That's on Peacock. Number 23 St. Mary's is at Loyola Marymount. That'll be on CBS Sports Network. That's your WCC champs. The St. Mary's Gales. You jump past the Wednesday game, a biggie. I said we'd get to it. Double bubble. Texas at Arkansas, 9 Eastern, Wednesday night. Longhorns at Arkansas. I think Arkansas is heading to the tournament. I think we talked about that on the Sunday show. I think it's going to get there. But if it loses this one, that would be big for Texas. If it loses this one, it will be 16-12. And then we'll have at South Carolina, at Vandy, home to Mississippi State. I just think the schedule sets up for them, but that is an intriguing one. I believe later on today we'll have collectively as a staff, we did just a general coaching carousel quasi hot seat. Let's look at situations there. I was responsible for the Rodney Terry capsule. And my understanding is that, yes, there is a hot seat situation, and if Texas does not perform well down the stretch and get some wins in the tournament, there's a real chance that job could flip. Yes, already. It's a big-time job. Open a new arena. The season Chris Beard got there, and it's been solid, but it hasn't been amazing. And at 16-11 and flirting with in or out of the tournament, it's certainly a situation to monitor without question, because that is regarded as a top 10 job in college basketball. Big game tonight on the road against Arkansas. And we will talk about it on Friday, as long as we remember to put it in our notes and talk about it on Friday. I got you. No worries. That's a promise. That's a show. Shouts to Tevin Downey. Shouts to Chester. You want me to do the shouts? Can you get through these? You want me to do them? No, man. I'm all coated up, man. I feel good right now. I'm coated up. Well, hold on. I have the poll results. Oh, great. How many teams are going to be in the NCAA tournament representing the SEC on Selection Sunday? 13. I already told you 13. But what do you think won the poll? It should be 13. 11, 12, 13, or 14. What do you think won? It should be 13 if people are listening. 13 was in second place. 12 teams. They agree. They agree with me. Well, that's right here. 12 teams, 47% of the vote. 12 teams, 13 teams in second place with 29%, 11 at 17%, and then 14 teams at 6%. I would be stunned, and it would be, for just general sports discussion purposes, if the SEC got 14 teams in a 68-team tournament, that would be outrageous. I can't imagine a scenario in which we get there. 13 I'm open to, but I'll GP's at 13, I'll say 12. And that's the poll. I remember to do it on this one.
Terry Teagle is a legend. So is Huck. So is Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Iowa College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe. Anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, more of us than there are of them should be reflected in the comments. So do that. We'll talk to you again on Friday. Till then, take care.